Every email needs to have value. If your content is weak, your results are going to be weak.
Email marketing is super powerful and can really drive conversions for your brand. I know this firsthand because when I ran my own brand, anytime we would send out emails, we would instantly see an increase in sales. That's why it was so important for me to bring on an email marketing expert to the podcast. And today I'm interviewing Naomi Davis, who is the founder of NMD Marketing Agency and a guest lecturer at Condé Nast College. In this episode, Naomi shares how to get started with email marketing, how to create winning emails that actually convert into sales, and how to nurture your audience well through segmentation and automations. Friend, this is an episode you're not going to want to miss because we're giving you practical strategies that you can go and implement in your email marketing right when you hop off of this episode. So without further ado, here's my episode with Naomi Davis. Hi, Naomi. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am so excited to have you here. I know that you are known for sharing some high level digital marketing strategy. And so I know my audience is going to love this so much, but thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely delighted to be here today, Jasmine. Thanks so much.
So I always like to get started by hearing a little background and how you got to where you got. So tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in digital marketing, and then also tell us about NMD marketing.
Absolutely. So I have always loved fashion and I've always loved shopping. And when I started my career, I started at the big luxury brands in London in their head offices. And it was just sort of all by accident, but also because I just loved it. And I just sort of learnt on the job at various different brands. And then in the back of my mind, I always knew that I wanted my own business. I didn't know what that meant or what it was going to be. But in 2018, I just thought, let's go for it. Let's just freelance and see what happens. And I've just built everything up from there gradually ever since. So since 2018, I've now got a team of 5 people working for me, and we work in London and we work with fashion and accessories brands because that's what I love and that's what we do.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the services that you guys offer. I know you're focusing on digital marketing, but what does that look like? Because that could be a lot of different things.
Yeah, totally. It's a really great question. So we're very focused. We do email marketing, which is on Klaviyo usually. And then we also do paid social. So your ads that you see on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, all those kinds of places.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to start off with email marketing. Like I said, I know you have expertise in a lot of different areas, but I think email marketing is so important. And I want to hear from you, like, why is email marketing still such an important strategy for brands to implement when they're thinking about their overall marketing strategy?
Email marketing is so important because it really gives you the direct access to your customer. Whereas if you're on social media channels, you're battling against an algorithm and you don't know who gets to see your content. Whereas when you're doing your email marketing, you truly own that audience and you can guarantee eyeballs on your brand. You know that that email is going to land in the inbox. You're not having to battle against an algorithm or any kind of reach or any shadow banning or anything like that.
Yeah.
So email is amazing because you know it's just going to get land where you need it to, right in front of your ideal, like right in front of your customer. Like it's just perfect. Like it also lets you tell your story and showcase your collections in your own way. And it's also highly commercial. And that's what something people don't really talk about is how commercial it is. It's at really low cost. It drives consistent revenue. And it means that you're not having to deal with the unpredictability of reach or paying for ads or advertising. It's just really consistent and just such a great commercial channel for any brand.
Yeah, I find with the rise of social media that a lot of brands started to neglect email marketing and kind of just focus on social media strategy. But we saw recently that there was this whole talk ban, at least
Mhm.
it was all over, right? It wasn't just here in the States. I think it was,
I think it was just for you guys.
oh, was it? You guys
Yeah.
still had
Yeah.
it? Well, we had that. But I think that was a prime example of like, you don't really own your audience. And I feel like email marketing allows you to do that.
Totally. And also say, and this is a horrible, horrible experience to talk about, but if say you were to get hacked on your Instagram account and say you were to lose all of your followers,
Oh my
which does
gosh.
happen, you've then lost your whole audience, and if you're not able to get the account back, then you have to start again. So you're not going to lose your email database. It's yours. It's totally yours to nurture and love. So that's why it's just so great.
Yeah, that's so true. That actually happened to me before. So I used to have a brand and they hacked our account and then tried to bribe us to sell it back to us.
Oh my God,
And
that's awful.
yes, thank God I knew someone who worked at Instagram who was able to give us our account back, but not everyone has, someone at Instagram that they know that can do that. So you're completely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So with emails for brands that are just starting out, where would you say they should get started? I mean, sure, we should create an account first, but like what even platform to start off with? I know you mentioned
Mm-mm.
Klaviyo. I want to hear more about that.
Totally. So yeah, you need a platform to get going with. Klaviyo is amazing. I absolutely love it. MailChimp is also a very popular one. But if you're on Shopify and if you are really just like the first few days of starting out, Shopify have an email section within
Hmm.
Shopify which you can use. And that is a great way of just getting some emails out at the beginning. Like, yeah, it's a bit limited in places, but it's actually also not that limited in that you are able to do quite a decent amount of stuff on it. So if you're really looking to keep costs down and you're really, really new, then just use Shopify email. But Klaviyo, 100%. If you want to start taking it seriously and really investing in your email marketing and really dedicating time to it, then 100% get onto Klaviyo, especially if you're on Shopify. It's just a perfect match made in heaven.
Yeah, let me
Other
ask you about
things,
the
yeah,
Klaviyo.
mm,
Why
yeah, go for
why
it.
do you recommend Klaviyo specifically? Because we have things like Mailchimp, we have Flowdesk now. There's so many different platforms. What is it about Klaviyo that makes you want to recommend it to fashion brands?
It's a fantastic platform. It does integrate so perfectly with Shopify, and so many fashion brands are on Shopify, and it
Mhm.
just makes it easy. But aside from that, the design elements within Klaviyo that you can do are really fantastic. You can
Mm.
create some really beautiful emails. So you can have that design level that you want for your brand within Klaviyo. MailChimp, on the other hand, I want to like being mean about edit channels, but some other platforms are much more harder to design really beautiful emails on. Whereas you
Mhm.
can design's the limit on Klaviyo. You can do whatever you want, really. It's
Mm.
amazing. And there's also loads of really flexible automations. And you can literally imagine whatever you want to create and you can just make it happen.
Mhm.
There are no limitations. Well, very few limitations. You can really make an amazing automation that's really specific for your brand or really, fits that idea that you've had that you want to try and make. Whereas other channels tend to put blockers in place to make it a bit harder for you, which is totally unnecessary and really unfair when you've got a cool idea and you want to make it happen. You
Yeah.
want to make it happen. So it's a really great platform for that. There's reporting and tables and all that sort of stuff that you can pull out. You can make it as complicated or as easy as you like, which is also another brilliant thing about Klaviyo is that you can keep it super simple. Just make it work for you and just use the top line stats, use the top line campaigns, just keep it really basic and really
Mhm.
easy. Or you can go deep and you can make it really complex. But it's up to you and it works brilliantly either way.
Yeah, which is encouraging for brands that are solo entrepreneurs who are managing everything on their own that just needs a really simplified metrics to understand or a simplified user-friendly platform. So that's great. So once we have our email, platform set up, whether it be on Klaviyo or Shopify, what would be the next steps to get started?
Absolutely. So you need to start collecting email addresses, which sounds easy on paper, but it is quite tricky to do. So you need the basics in place, which is really obvious, but have a sign up in your footer, have a pop up, make sure people can subscribe during the checkout process, but also utilize your social channels, make sure you're sharing links to sign up on your stories, wherever you may be on social media, whatever channels you're using, link through to sign up to your emails. But the real thing that small brands and growing brands can do, and the area they can really excel in, is then what you offer in value in return for that email address.
Mm,
Like everyone does 10% off or a discount code, isn't it? Like sign up to get 10% off. And it's like, of course, okay, fine. But that's like everyone's doing it. So what
yeah.
can you do? What can your brand do that's different? Like how can it make you stand out? So I would really recommend experimenting with that a little bit. So yeah, you probably will have to do the 10% off, but Everyone also says then like exclusive access, but it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
Like,
like
it doesn't mean.
why do I want exclusive access? I've never heard of your brand.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, have you seen any creative ways that brands have incentivized their customers with this?
Not brilliantly, no, I have to admit, because a lot of people do focus on 10%.
Yeah.
But I also have seen from time to time, like, brands really do promise that exclusive access and then they follow through with it and it really
Mm,
works. And to do that, actually password protecting a product launch or something like that, where like you actually
okay.
can only get the password in in the newsletter. And we've had clients in the past that do that, and it has really improve the email database growth that week in the run up to it, because we will put it all over the social saying we're launching this product, but if you want the password to shop it on Sunday, you
Mhm.
need to be signed up for our emails. And then everyone's going wild on Sunday being like, I didn't get the email. And we're like, yes, you did. Just check your inbox. So I definitely like things like that, like password protecting something, or actually offering invites to exclusive events or signing sessions, or if you're doing a live on Instagram or a live on TikTok, like sharing that and like making sure that people are aware of it before everyone else, like actually giving your database the first look at something as opposed to just saying you're going to do it. That's
Yeah.
really important. Sometimes people will do like £10, like sorry, pounds or dollars off, or like £20 or $20 off as opposed to a percentage off, depending on your brand. If you're able to take that margin hit, like it depends on your brand, but some people do a monetary value as opposed to a discount, which is quite an interesting approach too. But think about, I'd say what can really improve your email subscriber rate is really finding enticing ways to make people want to subscribe and give them
Mm,
that value through
yeah.
subscribing.
And what about with ads? Because I see this too, where people will use ads to convert into email subscribers. Do you think that's effective for fashion brands in particular to kind of have a lead magnet, so to speak?
It does work. Yeah, it does work, especially in the run up to Black Friday. It's just like constant. Another great thing about Klaviyo is that it completely integrates them with your meta ads. So if you're running an ad and you're trying to get signups and you're getting the email addresses, it will just sync straight over into Klaviyo, and then an welcome email will send. So you don't have to worry about downloading and uploading data. It's just all
Hmm.
done for you, which is takes the hassle out of it. And yeah, we've seen some great results, especially with our clients, the brands, the fashion brands that we've worked with. We've run lead gen campaigns in the run up to sale periods. Again, with the offer of you will get the chance to shop Black Friday before everyone else.
Hmm.
And then it has worked because then the customer is actually interested and actually engaged in wanting to shop for everyone else. We've also done it around other sale periods like summer sale, for example. We've also done it as a sort of competition mechanic. So saying, subscribe to win a £500 voucher. That's
Mm.
also been really good. So yeah, it is a really good way of getting extra emails in. I would just always keep an eye on your conversion rate of those subscribers, though, just as a sort of cautionary side thing. Like, you don't want to be getting thousands of subscribers only for them to actually not be that engaged. So do just keep an eye on how engaged they are.
Which you would check on the back end, right? So if you're using Klaviyo, you would look at your porting numbers and see how many opens you're getting on your emails and things of that nature, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So check your open rate, your click rate, and then a good one to also check is your unsubscribe rate to check that they're not
Mm,
just leaving you straight away.
yeah. So how do we keep these, once we start growing our list, how do we keep them engaged and how are we creating emails that convert? Because I find that with email marketing, we know, the value of it, but as someone who is overwhelmed by all the marketing emails I'm getting myself, I'm just curious if you have any like strategies on creating emails that are actually going to get clicks and actually going to convert.
Absolutely. This is a huge topic, but yeah, there's some things that you can do to make this work better for you. So every email needs to have value. If your content is weak, your results are going to be weak.
Mm.
So don't pressurize yourself into doing an email every week if you don't have enough content to talk about that. Do one
Yeah.
every other week and make sure your emails are of better quality, providing better value to your customer. You can also really delve into your tone of voice. And this is like one of my absolute favorite things to talk about
Mhm.
is to really, and it's free, which makes it even better because
We
you don't
love
have to,
free.
yeah, it's free. So really leaning into your tone of voice is so special because it's you. you can really make your copy electric, really make it all about your personality and fill your email, whether it, the subject line, the preview text, and the
Mm.
email copy with your passion and your personality. And your readers will find that really engaging, really interesting, and will start looking forward to that piece of content
Mm.
because they're used to your viewpoint on it and your take on it. So whether it's like a slightly alternative approach to Halloween dressing, or whether it's something a bit different for like summer wedding outfits or whatever it might be, like how can you approach that differently as a brand
Yeah.
and put your slant on it? And that will make people really engaged in you and your brand because they really love hearing from you and your slightly different approach from it. There are also things you can do around segmentation, which then makes it all sort of start quite complex and maybe a little bit overwhelming. But segmentation doesn't have to be scary. It can be really simple. And it can be as simple as engaging engagers, basically. So people who have engaged in your emails recently, sending them the email as opposed to just the whole database. It depends on how large your database is. So don't feel the pressure to do segmentation. But if you're concerned about coming across as spammy, or you feel like you're sending too many emails, then just do a segment of your database to make yourself. So send it to the most engaged people in your database.
And in Klaviyo, are you able to do that where you can just segment it
Yeah,
to these are the people who are opening, these are the people who are engaged, exclude the people who are not engaged, all of that?
absolutely. Yes, 100%. I think you can even do some basic segmentation in Shopify email as well. But don't quote me on it, but I'm quite sure that you can.
Yeah, I really love what you said too about like the language and the personality of your emails because I find that, we want to be so professional that it's like it's sounding very robotic every email and brands don't
Mhm.
realize like when we talk about brand identity it's not just the colors that you're using or the visuals of your brand but it also is the brand language and that should be we should see that all around not only in the marketing copy for ads and things but also how we're talking to our customers and I think it like you said it personalizes it a little bit more where it feels like we're not just talking to some corporate like machine, but it's like another human or, a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And people buy from other people. And if
Mhm.
they get that personal connection with your brand, then they're much more likely to become an advocate, be part of your community, become a customer, and just engage with you. So, yeah, that more sort of raw approach that you might have on TikTok or Instagram stories or whatever, bring that into your email in some way that you're comfortable with, so that then you're able to really tell your story and be you without having to be corporate or whatever that might be.
Yeah. And tell us more. So like what else goes into the anatomy of a great email that's going to get clicks and conversions? What else should we be looking out for?
100% look out for not doing the same email on repeat. So have
Mm.
content pillars. So they can be things like inspiration, behind the scenes. Product obviously lives within this as well, but think of other areas that are important to your brand and cycle through these. Make sure that you're not just constantly doing product, product, product every week in your emails.
Mm.
You're doing weekly emails, or provide styling tips, like provide a glimpse into what's coming up next. Like make sure that you're moving through different types of content and that you're not just sending the same type out every time. Also, templates, you can experiment with those. And there are some really basic things like make sure your template looks great on a phone because the majority of people are going to look on their
Mm.
phones. So, and also dark mode, like make sure your email looks good on light or dark mode because you never know how the images might look. And then there's things around links. So don't be afraid to put some really obvious links and buttons into your email. Like a lot of people will just forget to put a link or a button in, and then you can't really link through to, the person then can't click through to your website. So make sure you've got a really clear button and make sure that the links that you're putting into your email work and that they go to the most suitable place. So send people, if you're linking to a dress, then send them to the product page for that dress. Like don't just send them to like the homepage and think that they'll find the dress on
Mm.
the site. Like they just want to go straight there. So do keep it nice and simple, have a really lovely template, and just make sure you've got like the basics in terms of nice visuals, not too much copy, and lovely links like buttons and links. And that's the core bits that you need from a design point of view.
Yeah. And what about personalization? Because I see some emails, will include your name and it kind of feels like, they wrote this just for me. Or I've seen lately, and I don't know if Klaviyo is able to do this, but personalization in the email subject, which I think is kind of cool. How do we go about that? And is that necessary?
Personalization is so important because it makes your customers or your data people on your database feel seen, and people want to be understood. They want you to know what they are into, what they like, what they don't like, and they also want you to know where they are with your journey within your brand. So are they a new customer? Are they a VIP? Have they never shopped with you before?
Mhm.
Like having understanding all of these different parts of your customer, and then you can personalize towards them goes way past just the first name. And yeah, adding in the first name into your subject line, preview text, body of the email is lovely, but you can do so much more. You can segment based off. So personalization can be a balance of content within the email, but then also the segment that you're sending to. And then you can bring the two together to make a really personalized approach. So, for example, say if you sell a range of items, but you've got a really great core line of dresses, you could segment out all of your dress customers and then send them an email with their name in it saying, like, we know how much you love our dresses. Here are some great dresses, as opposed to just
Mm.
sending it to everyone who might not like the dresses. They might be really into the jeans or the t-shirts or whatever else you're selling. So having that sort of segment and then creating the content based off that is really lovely. But you can also collect data as well. Like in order to make personalization really, really work, you have to get more data in. You can't just make personalization happen from scratch out
Sure.
of nowhere. And a lot of the tips for personalization online, if you're reading blogs and you're trying to do it yourself, are just not fashion related at all.
Mm.
And so it is quite hard to find actual tips on personalization. So you can ask your database for information about themselves during the sign up process. So you could ask them, say, if you're a brand that offers women's wear, menswear, and kids wear, you could say, like, do you want to hear about menswear? Do you want to hear about
Mm.
kids? Or do you want to hear about women's? And
And you
then
can do that
you
in the
can take that.
pop-up, right? Like, because
Mm,
I've seen the
mm,
checkbox pop up email signups with pop-ups that say check whichever
yes.
category. Okay.
Yeah. And you can do that, yeah, in the pop-up, but you can also take preferences within the email itself. You can create a preference center. And this all sounds really complicated, but another great thing about Klaviyo is that there are loads of guides and help centers that can take you through every step of the way. So it's actually really manageable. And yeah, you can collect that information about a customer as to what they're interested in and then send them emails that are relevant to them. And another thing you can do as well is also more on the automated personalization side is include dynamic content within emails. So this might be items that people have already viewed before or similar items that they've
Mm.
viewed or similar items to what they bought before. And you can just pop those into the email too, which is a really nice sort of way to show relevant product to the customer as well.
Yeah, and I'm curious how it knows that without the customer putting that information in there. Or, for example, I know I've signed up for certain brands where they will. I live in Los Angeles, so they will, be like, "We're having an event in Los Angeles," and I know it's segmented because I live in Los Angeles. But where did they get this information?
So if you've bought from them before, they will have your shipping address. Like they will know
Mm.
your city from from your shipping address. Alternatively, if you signed up by the website, they would have, like Klaviyo, for example, will profile your location during the process. And when you're opening emails, they will cookies to understand where you are based,
Mm.
and so they will be able to target emails based off that. The only challenging thing about segmenting by region or location is that it is a little bit iffy from time to time. So, say if you're working from a different space, like a co-working space or an office space that has a server that maybe might be based elsewhere, then
Hmm.
Klaviyo will think that you are in that other country. So
Right.
sometimes servers are based in different countries. So then they think that you're in that country. So then you start getting emails for, events maybe in Germany or somewhere
Yeah.
random. And you're just like, why is this happening? So you do have to be a tiny bit careful, but that's how they do it. But it's usually through the shipping address.
Okay. And what about email subjects? Because we want the email to get clicked on in the first place, right? I think once we have this cadence of constantly providing really good content, then people will probably start looking out for our emails. But when we're just starting out, I feel like we need subjects that are going to get open. Do you have any tips on different strategies for email subjects that brands can be using?
Yeah, totally. So A/B test your subject lines. It's a really
Mm,
easy thing to do. So come up with two very different subject lines. Like don't A/B test two subject lines that are really similar. Like it's not going to move the needle. It's not going to provide you with any kind of learning. So do two really different subject lines and see which one does better.
and for the
And
people that don't know what
mm,
A/B testing is, can you explain like what that is?
absolutely. So you set it up and basically you say, well, there's different ways of setting it up, but basically the most easiest way of doing it is to say, send 50% of my email to this group and send 50% of the email to the other
Mm,
people. It goes out at the same time, but 50% will get the one subject line, the other half will get the other subject line, and then you will get two lines of results as opposed to one line of results. It will be the, you'll be able to see like the open rate versus the two different options and the click rate and then the purchases. And you'll be able to see what the differences are. Obviously, on subject line, you are looking at the differences in open rate or not. And then you can just very easily see the difference.
which one
Tools
performs
like,
better?
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Whichever's got the highest figure, obviously, is then the better one. And then you can keep reiterating from that. So maybe it might only be 1% better. So then next time you like take that one that did really well and then you do an even more different one and see how it works. Things, there's sort of more practical things is if you're a brand that uses emojis, give them a go in an email subject line. They're usually quite good at attracting attention, play around with capitalization, and then also play around with length. So some brands prefer a longer subject line, others prefer a shorter one. I am yet to see a long subject line do that well. I always find that like nice, short, snappy ones are much better. So I would
Okay.
definitely veer towards the shorter side. And again, this is where tone can really play a part in it and really get your brand personality across in 3 words or 4 words is obviously really hard, but if you can make it work, then it can be really, really successful. Another final tip is pinning it on cultural moments. So maybe there's like a TV show that everyone's really gripped on, like
Mm,
creating a subject line based around like a saying from that show or something about it. If you knew the email is obviously about it, about that show, but
yeah.
using a cultural relevant moment that can then hook people in and entice people in is also a really fun way of getting a really cool subject line.
Yeah, but somehow also, like, making it relevant with the brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that the other day where somebody had I don't know if you've heard of the Golden Bachelor. It was like the Bachelor, but with older people, and
Oh,
there
okay.
I guess there was, like, this, finale that people didn't expect coming, and so someone used that in the subject line, and I immediately clicked it because I was already like,
Mm,
"Oh my gosh, like, I wanna talk about this," you know? But what
yeah.
they were selling had nothing to do with the Golden Bachelor. I mean, they
Oh,
spoke about it, briefly in a few texts and kind of transitioned it into, whatever their service was that they were offering and made it relevant, but it's so true, like, it got me to click immediately, so
yeah.
that's a great tip. So our audience is made up of a lot of brands that have mission-based brands, sustainability, things of that nature. And I'm curious about your thoughts on how they can stay true to their values without feeling too salesy, too spammy, and create emails that are converting at the same time. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is a tricky one, absolutely. So 100% focus on what's important to you and like really tell your story, tell your mission, your vision, your ethos, and like explain that. But then that's where the content pillars can really help you. So have a few
Mm,
emails that are really heavily focused on that storytelling and explaining that mission behind your brand.
yeah.
But then don't be afraid from time to time to just have a more sort of commercial based message because you have to have that as well. You can't not have that too. We have a few clients that do want to push the more storytelling side of their brand. And so we do try and mix and match the emails in between. And we do sometimes find actually that the storytelling emails do convert really well because the customer gets really invested in the brand and then
Mhm.
has heard about the mission, what they're trying to achieve, and really believes in that and then resonates and purchases. So you absolutely can do it. I always try and veer away from too much copy and text, too much copy text in emails because it can get quite overwhelming. So just to be aware of that as well in the background, but don't shy away from it. If that's your brand and that's your personality, then tell that story.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the storytelling, could this look like behind the scenes? Is it like the process of your, maybe ethical production? What are some content pillars that some of your sustainable clients use?
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah. So behind the scenes, it could be talking about the inspiration behind the product, where that began, or it could be a story of how the product is made. So maybe it's a behind the scenes at the factory or at the atelier, showing the people who actually made the piece, through to the journey that the product has taken, and how how the fabrics were sourced, how the
Mhm.
items were stitched, that kind of thing, through to more of a storytelling in terms of like styling even. So it's like, how would you style this dress for a wedding versus for work versus for going out with friends, and like telling the story of how that dress can work for all these different occasions. So there are so many different ways that you can tell your message or story. A few of our clients are more jewelry based, and they really love the storytelling behind the product and the moments that you buy that piece of jewelry for, and that milestone moment that you are celebrating with that piece of jewelry as well. So you can even go down that route too. So there are so many different ways of doing it. But yeah, inspiration, behind the scenes, anything founder led as well is also really popular. So
Yeah.
as a founder, like why you made that decision and explaining that story is also really lovely.
Yeah, I love those ideas, especially when I think about slow fashion brands. I feel like it can be hard to think about, okay, what content do we want to produce besides product? And, maybe it could feel a little bit redundant because you're not manufacturing on this large scale, or you're not going at the same pace as like a fast fashion brand where there's new things to share every single second. So I love the idea of the content pillars and kind of mixing it up with, a really personalized storytelling moment, product moment, and everything in between.
Mm. Yeah, it works really nicely. It does work really lovely.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears here and talk about automation. So share with us what automations are and what automations brands should have. Even just starting out, I know there's some that you can have, for a new subscriber and all of that. So cue us in on all things automations.
Absolutely. So automations are amazing because you can set them up, and to some extent you can just leave them go. A lot of people just say you can just leave them go and never look after them again, which is totally wrong. You do need to look at them from time to time because your brand will change, your values will change, something will change, and you'll be like, oh my God, that's so out of date. I've got to change it. So do keep an eye on it. But the fundamentals of it is that you can make it and then you can just set it to go, and it's working for you in the background, which is just amazing when you've got so many other things to be doing. You just don't have the time to be focusing on it all the time. So it's great in that it's just working for you behind the scenes in a way. So my absolute favorite automations that every brand absolutely needs is a welcome series, and that is 3 emails within the series. It's not just one; you need a few, and it's really the chance to give that first impression. You can introduce your brand, your mission, your vision, your ethos, all the important things that anyone needs to know about your brand. Then you put that in your welcome series, and it is just a brilliant, brilliant email series to have for your all of your new subscribers. And you can put in that value piece that we were talking about at the beginning as well. Like, what are you actually giving that person for
Hmm.
subscribing? Is it the 10% off, free gift, whatever it might be? So that is my number one favorite automation, but closely followed by an abandoned checkout flow. Again, this is when someone has been on your website and is about to purchase but doesn't. And so they get the reminder being like, did you mean to forget to buy me? This is usually 1 to 3 emails, again, depending on the size of
Hmm.
your brand. And start off with 1 or 2, and then don't be afraid to add a third one in. And then another great one is a post-purchase thank you. And this is, as small brands and growing brands, this is a really special one to have because it's where you can really make your customers feel valued and explain to them just how important it is that they bought from you and how it means the absolute
Hmm.
world to you. And it really makes the customer feel special that they have bought from a brand that really appreciates their order.
Yeah, and I bet it makes such a good first impression too, that you get
Mm,
to see the maybe you're adding a picture of the founder, maybe you're, just writing something really thoughtful, but it helps to create that emotional connection where you probably want to continue to shop with them.
Mm, absolutely. And you can also include things like styling tips, hair
Mm,
instructions. Maybe you have a returns, what your returns policy is, but then also things around repairs. If you offer repairs for things, in items to break down the line, or if you offer a resale option, like having all of that information in those emails so that your customer is like knows like all of their options is also really lovely as well. And if you can get their trust in that post purchase email, then you're more likely to get that follow-up purchase further down the line, which is obviously what you really want.
yeah. Now, I want to go back to that welcome series email. So, you did mention that one of those emails can be, post sign up where you're giving them whatever they signed up for, whether it be the 10% off code or whatever else you're giving away. What should those other two emails look like?
Great question. So email two is usually we tend to do it around social media. So we will be like sharing the different channels that a brand is on, and also like any kind of blog that you might have on your site. So it's more the sort of social side of things. So getting people to follow you on on all of your channels,
Mhm.
read your blogs, engage with your site in some way. So getting them to not only be an email subscriber, but also to follow you elsewhere is also a great one. It depends on the brand though. For sustainable brands, quite a lot of them will put the second email as more of a real deep dive into their sustainability, what they're doing, what their
Mm.
values are, and what their goals are for their sustainability. So it does vary from brand to brand. And then email three, this can be a mixture. Sometimes brands like to just make it quite a hard sell because they're on the final email of the welcome series
Mhm.
and they need to use the 10% off code. So sometimes it can be quite a hard sell, but otherwise it could again be more brand message driven. It depends what your brand has to offer and what you could talk about. But that could be more about any sort of like blog posts that you've got or any sort of styling recommendations that you have, anything like that. Or it could really be whatever you want it to be. There is not like there are no fixed rules as such, but
Mhm.
there's sort of quite common things that brands tend to do.
Yeah, I like those because they're more value-based offers. So, giving a styling tip or something like that brings me value. So I want to read your emails more because I feel like I'm going to get value the next time around too. So I like that. And then for the abandoned cart email, something I saw recently that was pretty cool is because I'll get abandoned cart emails, but I saw one that was like, get 10% off if you purchase, you know, within this time frame or whatever. Do you find that those are effective, or is there anything else that we could be implementing in our abandoned carts that will, create better conversions?
Yeah, the 10% off is a great one, especially if you haven't bought the brand before. You're
Mhm.
offering the 10% off at sign up, so you may as well remind them of it in the cart. My only area of caution on that is just to do it for your first time customers only, because
Mm.
you don't want your existing customers realizing that all they have to do is abandon their car and they'll get
That's
10%
true.
off every time. So just do it for your new customers. But yeah, that's a great tip. Another thing that is a really lovely thing to do is to provide confidence and connection. So making making it really easy for the customer to buy and just addressing any kind of FAQs or any kind of hesitation that the person might have before they purchase.
Mm.
So that could be making a mention about whether you have a free returns policy, or maybe it might be more information on your sizing. If, say, you're a brand that uses slightly unusual sizing guides, then making that really clear. But also having information on your customer services. So, say if you've got a customer service phone number or email address or WhatsApp or whatever it might be, making it really clear that you have someone on the other end of the line that they can actually communicate with, like a person if they need to, if they're not sure about something. Or say if you have stylists, making sure that you share their details so that then they can contact the stylist one on one if they're not sure about something. So trying to make it personal, build that connection and just get that confidence going. A 10% off is really cool as well, but only send it to your new customers.
Yeah, great advice. And I love that what you were saying about adding, canceling out any objectives they may have by having, the FAQ, by having the or objections, I'm sorry, by having the
Mm,
FAQ, customer service number, everything that you would probably need if you were hesitant about purchasing, you have it there so that, they have no reason not to buy if it's something that they really desire.
absolutely. Another nice thing to do is to include maybe some user generated content, but don't go
Mm.
wild on it. You don't want these emails to go like too big. They need to be really succinct and really focused. But you could include a quote from a happy customer or something as well. Or if you
Mm.
use Trustpilot or a similar system for collecting reviews, like have your star rating as well, just to build that reassurance if someone's not sure about your brand.
Yeah, which I think is great for emerging brands too, because you do need to build that trust capital and, having some of that, UGC in the reviews would be really helpful. So that's great. And then in terms of automations and just sending emails out in general, is there a certain cadence that brands should be on to make sure that they're nurturing their list well and they're not neglecting them or completely abandoning them? What kind of schedule would you say works the best?
Gosh, there really is no right answer to this. And I know that people are like, just give me a number, but there really is no number. Like it is whatever works best for you.
Okay.
If you can do one a week, then that's great. If you can do two a month, then that's great. If you can do three a week, then and you've got enough to talk about and you're providing value in each one of those three emails, then go for it. But ultimately, like realistically and ultimately, I would say around one a week is absolutely fine for most brands. If you're just starting out, then probably one a fortnight is also great. I think any less than one a fortnight is that you probably get forgotten because that would mean like you're only sending one a month and it's just like the inbox is busy, and if you're only sending one a month and then the customer misses it for a month or two, then they don't hear from you for 3 months, then it's too long. So I would say probably one a week if you can commit to it is a really nice cadence to have. My other tip when you're trying to think of your cadence or work out what you're comfortable with is to do test a little bit around timings and try out different times and send days and then send times. But once you're settled into a day and time you're comfortable with, make that your day and time
Mm.
so that then your database are looking forward to that moment. Because if you've got that really cool subject line, you've got that really cool message that you're offering, you're adding value, and you know that you're always sending it on like 8 p.m. on a Sunday night when people are really not looking forward to going back to work, then that people will look forward to reading it and be like, "Ah, like I know I'm going to get the email, and I know I'm going to look forward to reading it." So
Yeah.
build up the anticipation and build up that excitement and keep it consistent. Whatever cadence you agree to, just be consistent.
Yeah, that's good. I
Yeah.
love the point of keeping the same day and time so that people know,
Mm.
to look for you during this time. But you would say, I think you mentioned it too. We should test this, right? Like test out the time that works the best and that's converting the best. And would you say that we're looking for like through the click through rate for that or the amount of opens on, and testing different days at first, like sending out on different days?
Yeah, absolutely. So do your testing 100%, and you will need to retest from time to time. But yes, you're completely right. Look at your open rate, look at your click rate, and you can also look at your conversion rate too. And it's not always a clear winner. So you might have to be like, okay, I know I'm going to get a better open rate on a Sunday, but I'm going to get a better conversion rate on a Wednesday, for example. So then maybe that makes it easier for you. You think, okay, well, I'm going to send emails on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Sundays. Sorry. So you might not always get, better opens, clicks, and conversions on the one day. So be be open to a bit of some messy results and sort of lean into that. So if you know you're going to get great opens on a Sunday but no conversion, then send that longer storytelling email that's less likely to be a conversion driving email
Mm.
versus a day where you know you're going to be getting loads of sales, then or loads of clicks to your website, then send that a more commercial focused message on that day.
Yeah. And what about brands who, they've been around for a couple years, but they haven't seen much success and they want to kind of try this email marketing strategy? They've kind of already started their list, but they haven't been nurturing them. Do you have any tips on re-engaging their audience?
That's a really tricky one, especially if you've been running for a while and you haven't emailed consistently. It can be really hard to
Mm.
then re engage that database. What I would say is go for it. And if you're going to go for it, just be consistent and just be confident and keep going with it. I've had situations before with clients in a very similar position, and we found that just through the consistency, you will succeed. The Don't be put off at the beginning by seeing some unsubscribes. If you've got a database of people who are like 4 or 5 years old and you haven't emailed them for 4 or 5 years, then they will unsubscribe. And,
Mhm.
you've got to expect that. So don't be disheartened when that happens. Just keep plowing on through because you know it will be beneficial in the end.
Yeah.
However, there are things you can do to help your re-engagement rates. So, and that comes down to segmentation. So you can segment out people who have not opened your email for, say, the last year, and then you don't email them. Alternatively, you can, alternatively, you can pick any date, like, or any time frame. So it could be 30
Mhm.
days, 60 days, a year, whatever works for you. But you can also automate it. So you can create an automation based on when someone is looking like they're going to start disengaging. So maybe they were always opening emails, but they're not opening as regularly as they used to. You can send them an email to say, like, hey, we noticed you're not as interested in our emails anymore. And it sounds really direct, but you kind of just have to say, like,
Yeah.
why are you not opening our emails anymore? Like, what have we done? So you could include like a small survey asking people to just give
Mhm.
feedback on to why they're not opening your emails as much. That's saying more if you're already in that consistent flow and you're then wondering, like, why are my emails not being opened as much anymore? But yeah, having that consistency and just asking if people aren't opening, why?
Yeah. I would think also if your brand that has already started, maybe you're in the first couple of the years and you've kind of neglected your email list, that you probably need to start building up a new audience as well. And so I'm curious if there's any strategies to start growing a list for a brand that's already been around but kind of has been a little stale. Like, are there any unique strategies? Because I feel like if you're not getting a ton of people to your website to begin with, then you're probably not getting a ton of signups in that pop-up. Like, what other ways can we start growing that if we've been around?
Great question. And it's the question that I get asked a lot. And unfortunately, I don't have like that magic one, like, do this and it will be
Yeah.
great, because
Yeah.
there really is no magic answer anymore for this. A lot of brands do giveaways and competitions, which can be really great. But just as a word of caution, like, really collaborate closely with a brand that really resonates with your audience and also is very similarly aligned with your brand. Obviously you don't want to be doing it with a competitor, but you can find a brand in a similar space that has
Mhm.
a crossover in audience. You can do giveaways and competitions, but just be really careful because the quality of data can sometimes be really patchy, but sometimes it can be amazing. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of getting more subscribers into your database, if you've got a good social media following, using that, trying to get those social media followers to start subscribing to your emails. So being there on your TikTok, on your Instagram, whatever channels you're using, just being like, sign up to my emails, like even just like a straightforward, like, please sign up to our emails because on this day I'm sending out a really cool email and I want you guys to see it, but you won't see it if you're not subscribed. I'm not going to post a reel about it or a TikTok about it. So please do subscribe. So that's a great way of getting people who are already aware of your brand to then be more engaged with your brand via email. So there are two ways, but there really is no sort of magic way of getting like loads of subscribers anymore. You can also do the meta ads thing, as we mentioned as well, where you can, but you've got to have a budget for that obviously too. So
Yeah.
that's not always possible.
A lot of times things just take, hitting the needle constantly before you see results. And I feel like it's the same thing with email and growing your list, is that you have to continue to, put yourself out there, continue to find different ways that you can create incentives to get people to sign up. I've also heard someone say recently events is a great way. And I'm curious if any of your clients have tried that for email growth.
Yes, actually, some of them do. They will host events or host partnership events with other brands as well, and then collect emails during the event. Or they might do like a pop up somewhere and then have a QR code that you can scan to sign up for emails. Again, you can incentivize it. So you can say, like, sign up today for the chance to win whatever, a pre styling session, a gift card, whatever it might be. the challenge with events is that are you getting enough people at the event to really push the needle in terms of volume of emails being collected? Like if you're only doing a small event, then you're already going to have a small number of signups. So it depends on the volume of people at the event. But say if it's a pop-up that's a lot busier and a lot more people are coming to, then 100% have that QR code and incentivize the sign up in some way just for
Yeah.
that, just for that moment. So like do it as an incentive for the pop-up, for example.
Yeah, one thing I saw that was super helpful is like at a pop-up event, doing the same discount you would offer for signing up with the like if you had a pop-up on your website. So if it was that 10%, doing it in person and saying if you sign up for our email list, you'll get the 10% off of, the item. And I find that, especially at events, people want like, oh, I want a discount. Like I want the
Yeah,
lower
that's
price.
easy, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's just, yeah, super easy. I mean, I've even done that in some bigger stores where I'm like, I want the 10% off. I'm going to sign up to email so I'm in the queue
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
to be served, So, yeah, having that offline online approach is also really great and really also easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to quickly touch on SMS marketing because I know this has been something that I see more of now. And I believe Klaviyo allows you to integrate SMS marketing too, which is great because not all email marketing providers offer that. So if you could just touch on like SMS marketing, do you feel like this is the future of email marketing and why that might be an important part of their strategy as well?
Yeah, SMS is great, really good, and absolutely does work very well within Klaviyo. The beauty of it is that you can do it automated or you can do it as one-off blasts. So, and again, you can segment your SMS too. So you can send really lovely SMS messages to your VIP customers, again, making that sort of personalized approach to it, or you can just blanket send out an SMS to everyone on your list. A great thing to do is sending out that email, and then anyone who hasn't engaged with the email, you follow up with an SMS.
Okay.
So really simple, as opposed to like in the like. And one approach with email marketing is to resend the email if someone hasn't opened it. You just send it again to people who didn't open. But instead of doing that, just SMS them instead, which is really great. And then you can also do automations with SMS. So the automated emails that I mentioned before, like your welcome, your abandoned checkout, even your post purchase, you can include SMS within all of that. So especially for abandoned checkout, if someone's abandoned their cart and they're not looking at their emails, then you can just SMS them, text them and be like, you've dropped your cart, click here to finish shopping.
Yeah.
Like it just makes it so easy. So yeah, love a bit of SMS. I'd say in the UK we're much further behind than you guys are in the US. You like are much better at it than we are, but we're definitely trying to like get better at it. And we're having a lot of conversations about it, and a lot of our clients are doing it. But we are a little bit behind compared to you guys. But there are the two really cool things you can do: segmenting some nice SMSs and then automating it too.
Yeah, I love that segmenting has been a theme throughout this conversation. And as a customer, I really appreciate SMS because, for one, you don't have to read a long email or there's not a lot of content, very few words, it's very visual, and it comes straight to your phone. Like I get so many marketing emails, I'm sure I'm missing so many throughout my day and checking them
Mm.
from the brands that I really love, but I'm sure there's things I'm missing. But with SMS, it's coming directly to your phone. Like I said, you can click right there, very visual. And for whatever reason, I usually don't unsubscribe, even though, I may be ignoring half of them, but I just feel like, whatever. I think it just feels,
Yeah, no, it's really good. And it is really easy, as you say, like it's just so direct and it's like one line of text and a button and you're just like done. Like you just know the message straight away. Whereas with email, you get, there's so much going on. There's like different images, there's different links, there's loads of text. So like,
yeah.
whereas with an SMS, you like within like one line, you know what that SMS is about. So that's why, yeah, it's also really good.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to hear, I know we touched a little bit more about your agency, NMD Marketing, and I want to just hear from you for brands that are like, I don't want to handle email marketing myself. I'd rather focus on something else. How can an agency be super helpful to them? Like, what parts of this would you guys take over? What does that look like working with an agency?
So For us as an agency, we're very flexible and we will work with a brand in whichever way is best for them. So whether that might be doing a one-off project to just sort of get their setup up to speed. So maybe you might be missing automations and you need to get them set up. Maybe you only have one email in your welcome series, for example, or maybe you're missing some sort of abandonment flows. We can go in, identify what's missing, where your opportunities lie, and then just make it happen for you. Through to some of our clients just say, please just do all of my email marketing. I don't have the time to do it. Please just get on with it. I want one email a week. See
Mm.
you at the end of the month. So, and it's like, right. And we just get on with all of it and we all do the segmentation, the A/B testing, the making the emails, everything. And everything in between. We as an agency, we are really flexible and other agencies work in different ways. But yeah, that's sort of how we work. We either do one-off projects to sort of get you up to speed and then we could hand it over to back to the brand to be
Mm.
like, okay, we've got it to this position for you and you're in a really great place now. Just don't mess it up, please,
Yeah.
and carry on doing these good things. And then versus we can just run it all for you.
Yeah, and I love that because it's like you're kind of giving the blueprint after kind of dissecting what's working, what's not, and then the brand can handle it themselves and, maintain it and take it from there.
Mm.
So that's a great offering. And for brands who are just bootstrapping right now and they're doing it all themselves, I'm curious if you have any tips or tools, special tools that you like to use that will be helpful to them that you can leave us with.
If you're on Klaviyo 100%, like go through all of the guides and the support because there is so much great information on there that can really like step by step take you through everything you need to know. So do spend the time there if you're really just starting out, especially if you're on Klaviyo. Even if you're not on Klaviyo, you can still read some of the guides and get the idea of like, oh, I want to do that. And then you can work out how to do it, say like within Shopify email. But yeah, there's like a plethora of amazing resources. But you can also follow me on Instagram because I also provide loads of great tips. And then also follow me on LinkedIn because again, I have loads of great tips there and I do share lots of cool information too. So yeah, those two things.
Yeah, I saw your Marketing Monday series and I'm like, this is so fun. There's so much like practical and high level information just from those little clips. And so, yes, please tell us your handle so we can follow you on Instagram and LinkedIn. What's your Instagram handle?
Instagram handle is NMD_marketing. And then LinkedIn, I think it's just my name. Gosh, I actually don't know. I'm sure. But
Yeah,
yeah, if you
it's
just search me, I
if
think
you
it
search
comes
your name,
up.
right? Yeah, it should come up.
Yeah.
And then for website, if we want to work with NMD marketing, where can we find you on the web?
We are at nmdmarketing.co.uk.
Amazing. And any final words for any brand founders out there that are just like, I want to do this, don't know if I can. Any words of encouragement?
Just go for it, honestly. You don't have to be perfect. Just do something and commit to a cadence and just keep going and just keep doing it and you will get there, I promise.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Naomi. This has been so insightful, so many practical tips. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really, really lovely to be here.